What's up, folks? Welcome back to BrickBucks, where we talk about Lego investing. That is buying Lego sets, holding them until they increase in value, and then selling them again online to make a profit. And today we're talking about Lego architecture, specifically the landmark sets in the Lego architecture theme. So if you don't know, Lego architecture is typically split between two different types of sets. It has landmark sets like the Empire State Building, the Statue of Liberty, Trafalgar Square, which I have here today. But also there's Lego architecture skyline sets, where they have a skyline of popular cities like San Francisco, New York, London, Shanghai, and tons of other cities. And in this video, I'm going to rank by return on investment the retired Lego architecture landmark sets. I'm going to look back in history and figure out which one of the Lego architecture landmark sets performed the best over time when it comes to the return on investment and the increase in value on eBay. Now, of course, this is a follow-on from my last video on the architecture series, where I looked at the skyline sets and I figured out which one of those was performing the best. So make sure you check out that video if you haven't seen it already, because some of those return on investments are just through the roof. But for today, we're looking at the landmark series, and with that, let's jump in and let's look at this list. Now, there are too many retired landmark architecture sets to rank in one single video, so I'm going to look at the top 10 when it comes to the average annual return on investment. So these are going to be the top performers, the Lego architecture landmark sets that have done the best over time as an investment. And then when I finish going through the top 10, I will show some of the rest of the data so you can see some of the other sets that didn't make the top 10. Now, as we jump into this ranking, let me know in the comments below, what Lego architecture set do you think is going to be in the #1 position here when it comes to value increasing over time? Which one do you think is in #1? And in number 10 here, we have the Farnsworth House, Lego set 21009, with 546 pieces and a retail price of $60. The Farnsworth House had a price per piece of around 11 cents. And if you haven't heard that phrase before, price per piece is just one of around 15 to 16 different metrics that I think about when I'm analyzing sets as an investment, but it can be a good indication of value when you're comparing sets that are very similar to each other. This is one of the older sets on the list. This one was released in April of 2011, and then it retired in April of 2014, so it had a shelf life of 3 years. And as I mentioned, it had a retail price of $60, but right now on eBay, if you want to pick one of these up brand new in box, you will need to pay around $250 on that. And if you bought it at retail and sold it today at $250, then you will be making around $153 in profit after you've paid your selling fees. Now, that's a return on investment of 254%. But as I mentioned, this retired in April of 2014, so that's around 7.5 years ago. So if we average that return on investment out over the course of 7.5 years, then that would be an average annual return on investment of 34%. And that's where we're kicking off this top 10 list, with a 34% average annual return. Moving on now to number 9, and this is a set that I know some of you picked up, and if you did, it's doing quite well at the moment, due somewhat to some controversy, because at the start of 2021 we had a world event that impacted this building that led to the price of this Lego set going through the roof within a couple of short weeks. And of course, I'm talking about the US Capitol building, set number 21030, and one of my favorite Lego sets on this list today. I just love this architecture set. I think it looks incredible, and the US Capitol in general, when it comes to architecture, it's just a magnificent building and structure. So naturally, if they were making a Lego set based on the US Capitol, they had to do a really good job of it, and that they did, in my opinion, with over 1,000 pieces, 1,032 pieces in this set. So it is the biggest set when it comes to piece count that's in this list here today by quite a lot. The next biggest is around 800 pieces. So there's a big difference between the US Capitol and many of the other buildings in this lineup. Now, this set retailed for $100, and with that 1,032 pieces, that's a price per piece of 10 cents, which, as we're going to see, is on the lower end in this top 10. This set was released in September of 2016, and it retired in November of 2019. 2019. So it had a shelf life of just over 3 years, which is above the average and a little higher than a lot of the other sets here. Now, as I mentioned, this set retailed for $100. Right now on eBay, it's selling for around $200. So if you bought it at retail and sold it today for $200, you would have a profit of around $70 after you've paid your fees. Now, of course, at a $100 purchase price, that would be a 70% return on your investment. And it's been retired for a little under 2 years. So if we average that return on investment out, it would be an average annual return of around 38%. Moving on to number 8 now, and we have a set that is one of the older sets in this list. It is Falling Water, set number 21005, with 811 pieces and a retail price of $100. This set had a price per piece of around 12 cents. It was released in August of 2009 and retired in February of 2015. So it had a shelf life of around 5.5 years, which is by far the longest shelf life out of any set in this top 10 and almost the longest out of any set in the Landmark series of architecture sets ever. So it had a retail price of $100, but right now the set is currently selling on eBay for around $430. So if you bought it at retail and then sold it today at $430, you would have a profit of $266 or a return on investment of 266%. But of course, it's been around 6.5 years since this one retired. So if you average out that return on investment over that time, it's an average annual return of around 40%. Looking at number 7 now, we have the Trevi Fountain, another very popular set. It's set number 21020 with 731 pieces in this one and a retail price of just $50. This set had a price per piece of just 7 cents, which is by far the lowest price per piece in this list. This set was released in August of 2014 and it retired in November of 2016, so it had a shelf life of just over 2 years. And as I mentioned, it had that retail price of $50, but right now on eBay, if you wanted to buy this new and sealed, you'd need to pay around $180 for this set. And if you were the seller in that transaction and after your fees were paid, that would be a profit of around $103 if you bought it at that retail price. So for your investment of $50, you're now making $103, which is a return on investment of 206% on this set. But of course, it's been almost 5 years since this one retired, so average that out over the course of those 5 years, it will be an average annual return of 43%. Looking at number 6 now, we have the Willis Tower. This is set number 21000-2, and I say -2 because there is another version with 21000 set number of the Willis Tower while it was branded as the Sears Tower. But the one that lands in number 6 here is the one that was branded as Willis Tower, which is selling for slightly higher in the aftermarket. This set had just 69 pieces, so it was a very expensive set for what came in that box. With a retail price of $20 for 69 pieces, that's a price per piece of around 29 cents on this set. But of course, that didn't stop the set from appreciating in value and landing in the number 6 position here. This was released in June 2011 to replace the previous Sears Tower that was released in November of 2018. And this one retired in December of 2013, so it had a shelf life of around 2.5 years. And with that retail price of $20, it appreciated quite a lot and it's currently selling on eBay for around $120 brand new in box. And of course, if you held on to it for that long and sold it today, if you bought it at that retail price of $20, that would be a profit of around $82 after you've paid your selling fees, or a return on investment of 410% on the Willis Tower. But of course, it's been quite a long time, almost 8 years since this one retired, so we need to average that return on investment out over that time, and we would land at an average annual return on investment of around 53% on this set. And with that, we are into the top 5, and leading the charge on the top 5 is a set that I know a lot of you are big fans of. This is a very popular architecture set. It is, of course, the Seattle Space Needle Lego set 21003 with just 57 pieces. This is another expensive set when you're looking at price per piece. This one had a retail price of $20 just like the last one, and that would make a price per piece on this set, on the Space Needle, of 35 cents per piece, which makes it not only just the most expensive price per piece in this top 10 list, but also the most expensive price per piece in all of the Landmark series history. This one had a short shelf life. It was released in January of 2015 and retired at the end of the same year. So it had a shelf life of just around a year, which in my opinion has definitely helped it to maintain its position in this top 5. And from that retail price of $20, it has grown in value quite a lot. On eBay right now, you would need to pay $100 to get one of these in new and sealed condition. And of course, if you sold it at $100 after buying it at $20, that would be a profit after you've paid your fees of around $65, which is a return on investment on your $20 investment of 325% on the Space Needle. But of course, it's been quite some time since retirement on this one. It's almost been 6 years. So if we average that return on investment out over time, it would be an average annual return of 56% on this one. Moving on now to number 4, and we have the John Hancock Center from Chicago. Set number 21001. This is another older set and another one with a low number of pieces in it. This one had 69 pieces at a retail price of $20. So this had a price per piece of 29 cents. Now this is the oldest set on this list. It released in November of 2008 and it retired in November of 2011. So it had a shelf life of around 3 years. And from that retail price of $20, we've seen a lot of growth on this one. It's currently selling on eBay for around $190, which if you sold it at that price after buying it at retail, you would have a profit of around $142. Now that is a 708% return on investment on the John Hancock Center. But of course, it's been almost 10 years since the retirement of this set. So if we average that out over time, we have an average annual return of 72%, which is still very, very respectable over that course of time. Moving into the top 3 now, and coming in at number 3, we have the Lincoln Memorial. I'm a huge fan of the Washington, DC series of sets like the White House, the Capitol Building, and the Lincoln Memorial. This is set number 21022, and this one had 274 pieces, so a big step up in terms of piece count than the last 3 ones that we've just looked at. This retailed for $30, so it had a respectable price per piece of 11 cents. And this set retailed in January of 2015, and then it retired in December of 2016 for a shelf life of just under 2 years. Recent sales on this one have been going for around $180, so if you picked it up at that retail price of $30 and then sold it today for $180, you would be making a profit of around $123 on this one after fees. Now that's a 410% return on investment on your $30 initial buy-in cost. But of course, it's been retired for just under 5 years, so when we average that return on investment out, we have an average annual return of around 86% on the Lincoln Memorial. All right, so we're at the home stretch now, coming in at number 2, and we have the Sung New Moon set number 21016 with 325 pieces and a retail price of $35. This one had a price per piece of around 11 cents. And this set had a short shelf life. It was released in June of 2012 and it retired in April of 2013, so it was around for less than a year, which in my opinion definitely helped it to reach this number 2 position when it comes to its ranking among the LEGO Architecture Landmark series sets. And on eBay right now for this set, you would need to pay $350 to pick one of these up brand new sealed condition. And as I mentioned, it retailed for $35, so that is some great appreciation on this set. If you were the seller in that transaction, you bought it at retail and sold it for $350, that would be a profit of $263 on this set, or a return on investment of 750% on your $35 investment. Now it has been retired for around 8.5 years, so we do need to average that return on investment out over the course of 8.5 years, and we would land on an average annual return of 89%, which is still not bad. And we're about to take a jump from that number when we look at the number 1 position. In number 1 position, the best performing LEGO Architecture Landmark series set. This may not be a surprise to any of you because this is a set that was extremely limited and hard to find and extremely scarce. It was only available in a handful of stores, mostly in Singapore in museum gift shops and similar retail locations. This one is of course the very, very rare Marina Bay Sands LEGO Architecture set. set number 21021. With 602 pieces and a retail price of $75, this one had a price per piece of around 12 cents. It retailed in January of 2013 and had a very short shelf life of just under a year and retired in December of that same year. So with such a limited shelf life and such a limited locations where you could find this set, it's very, very quick and easy to see why this is reaching the number one position in this ranking. This set was highly demanded but not available anywhere. There was only 10,000 units of this ever made. And right now on eBay, if you wanted to pick up the Marina Bay Sands in brand new and sealed condition, recent sales on this set have been going for around $1,050 on this set. So if you were lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time and pick up the Marina Bay Sands for $75, right now you'll be able to make a profit of $818 if you sold that today after you've paid your fees. That of course is a return on investment of 1,090%. And it's been retired for a little under 8 years, so the average annual return on this set is 141%, and that is the top performing Lego Architecture Landmark Series set when it comes to eBay return on investment averaged out over time. So there you have it, folks. That is the top 10 sets. Now, I did say at the start of this video that I would show some of the data of the sets that didn't make the top 10. I will put some of that on your screen right now. And as you can see here, we had a handful of sets that were in the 30% range of annual average return, like the Great Wall of China, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, the Architecture Studio, which is not really a landmark set, but I just left it in here because it didn't make the top 10 anyway. Sears Tower, Sydney Opera House, Arc de Triomphe, Big Ben, the Louvre, Buckingham Palace, all coming in over 30% when it comes to the average annual return on investment. And then we have some other respectable average annual returns as well within the 20% range, which is not terribly bad. You might be surprised to see some of the lower numbers here on this list, like the Rockefeller Center and Flatiron Building both performing quite poorly, as well as the United Nations headquarters and the original White House. Now that set has been replaced with a much better version recently, which of course did lead to a sudden drop in the value of the original, but that's quite a low average annual return on investment on the White House. So what do you think? Is this what you expected? Did you guess correctly what the number one position was? Are you surprised? Do you like the architecture sets as an investment after watching this video and seeing this data? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one of them. And if you missed the last video where I looked at the Skyline sets, you are gonna want to check that out because the return on investments on the Skyline sets are quite different, and it is a very, very interesting story to see that. So make sure you check out this video right here and look at the Skyline sets. You don't want to miss it. And with that, if you enjoyed this video or found it useful, please do hit that like button. It really helps out the channel and I really do appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Shane from brickbucks.net and I'll see you in the next one.